Okay, you know this city is different today.
Why?
City is different today because the Eagles fans are showing up. My wife flew overnight. She's at customs right now. There's a 2-hour line. She says hundreds of Eagles fans. She's going, I'm seeing a lot of Wentz. And is there a player named Ertz? I said, yes, there is. Jerseys, green, Eagles are in London. Oh, this is crazy.
Now, but the Jags have been here before. They've been here a lot. Blake Bortles, we know how well he performs here. So which fan base will be more represented, you guys?
I don't know.
Sort of Jacksonville East, right? That's what you're saying.
Right?
Eagles are the former champs, so I'm saying London I, Eagles I.
Ooh, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a lot of Eagles fans. They've never played here, and they're coming off the Super Bowl. Everyone was on a high, and the schedule came out. They're like, we're going to London! And they're here.
And they're here. Yeah, well, I guess we'll figure it out when we're at Wembley on Sunday. Schrager will be on the sidelines. We're covering the pregame festivities between the Jags and the Eagles on Sunday. But this is Week 8, baby, and it kicks off tonight. It's time for the lead block.
Lead block.
It is the Dolphins and the Texans. Our guy on Thursdays, Omar Ruiz, is live right now at NRG Stadium in Houston, the host of the kickoff to Week 8. You can see it on NFL Network tonight. Brock Osweiler, it is Brocktober, and he's back in Houston for some revenge. What are you expecting to see from the quarterback that did lead the Texans to the AFC South title back in 2016?
Well, I'll tell you, Adam Gase and the Dolphins are expecting Brock Osweiler to continue his solid play that we've seen the last 2 weeks. Obviously, played well enough to beat the Bears. And Gase telling me he played well enough to beat the Lions, had a couple defensive lapses in that game that cost them, but more than 600 yards, 4 touchdowns in his 2 starts, replacing Ryan Tannehill and his injured arm. So Osweiler, I asked Gase how he's been able to get him up to speed and play so well so quickly. And Gase reminded me Osweiler knows his system better than anyone not named Adam Gase. He grew up with that system in Denver, and now he's playing like it. As for Osweiler, he says he'll have no emotional attachment coming in here tonight. He says he's been through this reunion game before, having played in Denver as a member of the Texans in 2016, going back to where he used to play. So he's been through it before. No such sentimentality from J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney, who'll look to attack and pressure him all night long. And as you mentioned, Kay, he did lead the Texans to a 2016 division title. Here is visual proof of that, a constant reminder high in the rafters, a banner they hang here, talking to some of the offensive players. They remember Brock fondly, still hold his friendship in high regard. He was a good teammate both on and off the field. Again, he did lead them to a division championship. And don't forget, a playoff win as well here against the Raiders that year. So it should be a fun reunion with Brock Osweiler tonight.
He's never faced the Texans as a starter. He is back in Houston tonight. Thank you so much. Omar Ruiz will be with us throughout the morning. You're in Houston. We are in London, but it's all about Thursday night Cowboys. Amari Cooper spoke to the media for the first time since joining America's team. Let's take a listen.
So we got some reps in today, route running on air, and then a couple reps in some team periods, and I really like the way he throws the ball. It's a good ball. You know, you just have to be a good learner, and I think I'm that. I'm already adjusting and picking up the system pretty well, so I'm going to have to do a lot of studying to not just learn the playbook, but to learn it to not make any mistakes. You know, it's a fresh start. This is a good team. I'm just giving them something to build on, I guess you can say. And it's America's team. Who wouldn't be excited?
America's team. The Cowboys are just that. I mean, there's nothing more American than a cowboy, right, guys? Nothing more American. My question, though, we're in London.
Yeah.
If London did have an NFL team, what would the name be? What would England's team name be?
All right, first let me give a shout out to Amari Cooper because I love his answer.
Yes.
And I love the fact that he's roughing it out. That means his last concern is how he looks, and he's been through the highs and lows of the NFL career thus far, and this could be a reinvention of a young guy. You guys know I've always wanted to play for Dallas Cowboys, so Coop, you're in a great spot. But if I could pick a team here in London, right, I'm going to go with something that will grab you. And I think of logos on the side of the helmet or a logo on a hat. I'm going with the London Eyeballs.
Okay, the eyeballs. Why are you doing that, Ed?
There it is right there.
Oh, dang.
All right.
That's gross.
And I know it's gross, and it creeps you out a little bit, but that's what the great logos do, all right? The London Eyeballs. Could you imagine wearing that on your hat, wearing it on the side of your helmet? It's perfect. And it encapsulates everything here in what London stands for. And plus, when you break it down, you can be like, who ball, you ball, I ball.
That's good.
But shouldn't it be we ball, right?
Yeah,
shouldn't it be the we balls?
Yeah. There's no I in eyeball. That was good.
It looks sort of like an eyeball. It a lot of things.
A little bit.
What do you got? Oh my God.
It's like crap.
I've been walking around town. Been walking around town a lot, and I've been picking up a lot of British slang.
Sure, yeah. What do you got?
I've been hanging out in East London, which is kind of like...
What's East London like?
It's kind of like the Jersey Shore of London.
Okay.
All right.
My people.
Right.
We'll
go situation.
Exactly.
Right.
Situation.
Right.
Six-pack, the whole thing. I've been taken in by them. I've become one of them. I'm almost embedded, I want to say, as an East Londoner. And my team are the London Cheeky Nandos.
Cheeky Nandos.
A Cheeky Nando. A Cheeky Nando is a spicy chicken sandwich here, but if you're going out with your buddies, you say, are you down for a Cheeky Nando? And you pop in, and apparently, this is from Urban Dictionary, my favorite site.
Yeah.
A term used by Brits to linguistically torment confused Americans where they explain what it means while using as much British slang as humanly possible for maximum yank confusion.
No way.
The London Cheeky Nando's. There's a big chicken sandwich on my helmet.
Maximum yank confusion.
I used to suffer from that.
Cheeky Nando?
Right. Cheeky Nando.
All right, Cheeky Nando's.
Like I'm from Wisconsin. A Cheeky Nando.
All right. Peter's been taken in by East London. I haven't ventured over this. So I got to go with the classics. And if we're going to do this team, we got to market this team. So you guys know I love a color rush.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the original color rush. And I'm going to keep it classic.
Yeah.
The London Redcoats. That's all I want.
Okay.
The London Redcoats. And Kate, I already got this figured out. Look at this. There we go. That is the color rush jersey that I'm talking. I already have my personnel figured out. Our ambassador is going to be London Fletcher. We're going to sign Kenny Britt, Prince Amukamara. Our punter is going to be Marquette King. We're going to have Blair Walsh for Tony Blair.
I love that.
A veteran backup is going to be Matt Castle. And our franchise quarterback is going to be who? Teddy Bridgewater. We will have a policy of signing no Jeffersons or Washingtons, which will probably hurt the team. The thing about the Redcoats, they're probably not going to be a great road team. Huge favorites, but when they play New England, the Patriots, or the Eagles, they'll get their butts kicked. So we're going to have to work on that. But until then, the lovely Redcoats with a bayonet on the helmet. B-A-E-O-net. That's what we're going to do it. That's right. Bayonet.
Bayonet. My team, in my couple of days here in London, joining you guys, and we've been here since last Thursday, the first thing I thought of is what I went with, and it's going to be the London Complex Carbs.
Oh, step into my office. Can I invest?
That is the name of the team because the food here is outrageous. Somebody told me that they have a bad food reputation in London. Can I tell you about a Scotch egg, please? Can I tell you about it's a hard-boiled egg that is covered in sausage meat and then breading and then deep fried, and it is so good. And they're about 400 calories a pop. Also, all these pints of beers we keep slamming, guys, they're 365 calories a pop.
Talk about it, Kay.
The complex carbs.
I love it.
We love them.
And the beer is a little flat, right? So it goes down easier.
I can't chug normal beer. I don't like to do it. Here you can chug away.
There's your mascot.
Some bangers and mash for you now.
The London Button Poppers.
The food here has been on point. These pies.
Yeah, I think when they say it's bad, they just mean it's bad for you.
Yes.
But it's delicious.
And here we are again, Americans talking about unhealthy food. Love that. We'll be back after this on Good Morning Football. You know, maybe it makes the playoffs. Who knows? I don't really. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Brock Osweiler back in Houston tonight on NFL Network.
Well, you guys are making me hungry with the Scotch egg and also the Cheeky Nando as well. All I need is a pint and I'll be good to go this morning. Either way, despite pleas from some players to come to their teams, hello, AB, we're talking to you. Cardinals corner Patrick Peterson is apparently wanting to stay in the desert. The All-Pro tweeting out a statement saying, in part, he's focused on being part of the solution and helping them turn this around. Now, there were reports.
It is what it is. It's business, you know what I mean? So, like I said, we're moving forward from it. You know, our focus right now is on the 49ers. You know what I mean? I'm sorry that I had to, you know, take it away from this game week, but it is what it is. I'm ready to move forward. My teammates ready to move forward. Coach Wilkes ready to move forward. I'm here. I'm Arizona Cardinal. I'm ready to move forward. My teammates know that I fight for those guys each and every day I step out on the field. It's the reason I got that C on my chest, and I want to continue to lead by an example.
Meanwhile, Jets running back Bilal Powell suffering a neck injury that head coach Todd Bowles calls potentially career-ending. As a result, the team placing him on injured reserve. Powell will undergo surgery at some point. The injury came in the second quarter of Sunday's loss to the Vikings. He had been averaging 4.3 yards per carry. Now, it was reported that Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster bought $120 worth of Mega Millions tickets, but apparently he wasn't the big winner, which prompted Juju to tweet out, "Man, Le'Veon Bell, I did my best for you. No luck, though. Only one person has the winning ticket, and they are in South Carolina." But you have to think, if one of us wins the lotto, I have to believe that Shriggs will buy Arsenal, and Kay, you will move to London. I mean, there's big plans here. Right, yeah, exactly. At least the gift shop. I can see that happening.
Nate will buy a suit store on Savile Row. Kyle will open a playhouse on the West End. And Kay, he's going to have the greatest residence that we can visit every few months.
It'll be right here
on the Thames.
It will be right here.
Yeah, you're going to live in Parliament. You're going to buy the whole thing.
Buy the Parliament.
I'll just buy a bunch of Arsenal mouse pads.
By Emirates Stadium.
Yeah, by Emirates Stadium.
Basically did when you were there.
Sure.
Thanks so much, Will Silva. We appreciate that. Man, one person won all that money.
One person, South Carolina.
There's a lot of football players that play the lotto. Just tell everybody that right now.
Really? That's a thing?
Question. Yeah, it's a big thing.
Playing scratch off or the numbers?
Any type of lotto you can imagine.
Is that even legal?
I don't think so, but guys still do it anyway. I spent so much money in lotto.
Remember they had Chris Long did that video in St. Louis where he's dressed like a trucker and like they don't know that it's Chris Long and they're interviewing him. Great video. So good video.
Local news.
All right, it is time for an NFL London game update presented by On Location Experiences. Let's welcome in the lead commentator for the Premier League on NBC Sports, coming to us live from the Counting House. We asked him to come into studio, but that looks like a lot more fun, Arlo.
Oh, it certainly is, Kay. Good morning, everyone. Lovely to be talking to you again. Before we get started, I've got a very important news flash to bring you. It's from Arsenal Football Club, who this morning have announced that profits are up 61%. The reason given, apparently a spending frenzy in the club store on Monday by a loud American speaking in a British accent. In unrelated news, they've also announced that they've sold their first rubber ducky. There are only 99,999 of those still available. So get on those if you can. So back to the football. We are indeed at the Counting House pub. This will serve as the home for Jags fans. If you're watching this in Jacksonville this morning, head to the city area of London. That is the Wall Street of London. It's the financial centre. You'll find all sorts of beer, dark beer, light beer, fizzy beer, cold beer, all the American fare you can possibly want over the weekend in the build-up to the big game. But they're a little bit quiet at the moment. It's going to get very, very busy here as the weekend progresses, guys.
Arlo, we're looking ahead to Sunday. What are you expecting to see from the Jaguars on the field? We know the fans are coming in droves.
Huge game for the Jags. Well, it's a massive game for both teams, isn't it? This is two desperate sides, both 3-4, coming into London, both with a bye week afterwards. This could be pivotal for the rest of the season. The Jags have had a strange time of it so far, haven't they? 3-1 to start. They beat the Patriots. They look really good. Now they've dropped 3 consecutive games. There's talk about Blake Bortles and the quarterback position. In those 3 games, they've scored 28 points. They've conceded 90 points. Now, Doug Marrone, the head coach of the Jaguars, was asked about Blake Bortles, who he yanked from the game against the Texans for Cody Kessler at the weekend. That was a 20-7 defeat. And he said he gives us the best opportunity to win the game. So expect Bortles to start. And his record in London is phenomenal. You guys have been speaking about it this week. He is 3-0 here, 8 touchdown passes, 1 interception. Something happens over the Atlantic Ocean as he heads over here. This could be the game that Blake Bortles bounces back. But reports out of Jacksonville do suggest he's on a short leash. But it's not just the quarterback position, guys, is it? It's running back. Leonard Fournette hasn't practiced this week, hamstring problem. It's unlikely that the Jags would risk him on Sunday and maybe save him for after the bye week. So, of course, Carlos Hyde came across in that trade with Cleveland last Friday, so expect him to feature. But a massive game for both sides. I'd be interested to get your thoughts. Who's it a bigger game for?
It's really both two teams in desperation mode. We've been talking about it all week long. Blake Bortles, though, does have the whole London thing to his advantage. He's the only person that loves this city, maybe more than I do. Arlo, we hear that you have a little quiz for us this morning.
I do, guys. Listen, I couldn't Adam and Eve it this morning with the current bun shining in the sky as it was. This is a Cockney rhyming slang test. Now, I know you've been in town now. You've acclimated for about a week. And I know you've thrown yourselves into this. By the way, Pete, the Redcoats, they are 301. That is their overall record in history, if it is to be the Redcoats for the new London franchise. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of Cockney rhyming slang test. So why don't you divide yourself into two teams? We've got the K. Kyle Monarchs. And the Nate Pete Kings.
The Monarchs.
And this one goes to the Monarchs first. We're going to start with items, the Monarchs.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. All right, let's do it.
We're going to start with items of clothing. If I'm wearing a whistle and flute, what have I got on? Whistle and flute.
Galoshes.
Confer with your partner.
What do you think? I think it's galoshes.
Galoshes? Why would the hell did you get galoshes?
What do you got?
Whistle and flute?
It's got a rhyme, guys, remember?
Two separate things. Maybe it's like
Cockney's got a rhyme.
What?
I didn't hear the setup.
Is that a rhyme?
Yes.
Suit and tie?
It's got a rhyme. Whistle and
suit and boot. Suits and boots. Suits and boots.
I'll take your first answer. It was a suit, indeed. The whistle and flute is a suit. Question two.
Whistle and flute suit.
Rhythm and blues.
Good. We got it. I thought it was galoshes.
Rhythm and blues.
Good thing I saved us.
All right. What do you got for us here, Arlo? What do you
Whistle
got?
and flute, galoshes was the wrong answer. So question two, rhythm and blues. Did you get the shoes?
Rhythm and blues? This is shoes.
The shoes that go with rhythm and blues. What would you say? Boots?
Correct. Correct answer. I'll give you a couple more. Parts of the body. Nate, you may have woken up with a few of these before. You may have woken up with a few of these before in your career. I've got a sore Gregory Peck.
Okay, Gregory Peck is an actor. Neck. Yep, there you go.
Yes, don't say
we got the neck.
Yes.
Yeah, we got the neck.
Right.
Neck.
Correct.
You gave them a verbal hint.
Correct.
A visual
Gregory
hint.
Peck.
And finally,
Gregory Peck.
Yes.
And finally, sometimes you get a bit of sunburn. I've got a very red boat race. A very red boat race.
Face? I think face.
Face, I would think, yeah. You get a red face, you get a sunburn, right? It rhymes with boat race.
Boat race. K is face. Correct.
Face! Oh, my gosh, all right.
I'll leave you with this. This morning, I nipped down the Frog and Toad Road to the Rubber Dub pub. I'll have a few cheeky pig's ears, beers. I'll spend some bees and money with my china plates, mates, but I don't want to get to Elephant's Trunk. I'll catch you later.
Drunk!
Hey, too late for that.
Arlo, get behind that bar and pour a beer like I taught you. We'll talk to you a little bit later. Arlo, White, hanging out, of course.
But it's time for what we call Who Needs to Fuel Your Hustle, presented by Oikos 000. It's a Greek reference. Here we are in England. This is where we break down the players who need to step their games up this week in the National Football League. But since we're here in the UK, where so many great musicians release their breakout hits, we're going to take those players that we're looking at and compare them to great British artists. And their Week 8 game has to be what we call their Crackin' Belter. Crackin' Belter, that major hit single that shot up the charts and took them worldwide. Nate, you are chomping at the bit to get in this, my friend. What do you have for your Crackin' Belter in the NFL?
Well, I'm looking at the Jaguars, okay? And of course, that team is dealing with so much, right? Starting decent and then falling off. And it seems like there's all this bitterness and this chippiness. There's arguments on the sideline. There's arguments in the locker room. It seems like every time these guys are talking to the media, they don't have that same swagger, that same bounce. They have a little bit of anger. So I'm going with a classic.
What do you got?
I'm going with Oasis.
Okay.
What do you got, Nate?
Don't look back in anger.
Oh,
Gallagher's.
Because listen, right out the gate, it starts off, it says, slip inside the eye of your mind. Don't you know what you may find? A better place to play. I feel like if these guys, listen, just think introspectively. Just look deep inside. Forget about the noise. Forget about what they're saying about your defense. Forget about what they're saying about your quarterback. Forget about people saying the Jaguars are just the Jaguars of old. They're not the Jaguars of last year. Just look inside. All the swagger, all the bounce, all the confidence, it's inside, man. So look, don't go angry. Because last year you guys weren't angry. You guys were having fun.
You're right.
And kicking butt while doing it. So get back to that bounce that you guys had.
That's what I'm saying.
No more anger. Don't look back in anger.
All right.
Gallagher brothers are fighting all the time, just like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Where were you while we were on a bye?
I'm going to go to Scotland. Can I go to Scotland?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to go to Scotland. I'm going to go to Glasgow, one of the greatest bands to come out of Glasgow. And I'm going to go to my favorite movie from the 80s, The Breakfast Club.
Okay.
Okay, and
Peter,
the band
do it.
is Simple Minds.
Hey, baby.
The song is Don't You Forget About Me, and the player is Aaron Rodgers. Because here we go.
I dig it.
Aaron Rodgers, we were on a bye last week, and we've been raving about Patrick Mahomes and raving about Jared Goff. And we know the games that Breeze and Brady had, but don't you forget about... You know the rest.
Judd Nelson, baby, all day.
I can't sing it because I don't do them the honor. My voice in the Scottish accent doesn't work.
I think you do.
I tried it. Judd Nelson walking off that football field, fist raised. Let's go. Let's just stop
Fingerless
it. John
gloves.
Hughes, fingerless gloves. Aaron Rodgers. Don't forget about Aaron Rodgers, guys, because he's coming. I know the start of the season was rocky, the injuries. He had two amazing, amazing performances. One in a loss against Detroit, and then obviously the victory on Monday Night Football. That was insane. He's coming, and the MVP race is not done yet.
Love that.
Me
I was
too.
at NFL Films to end the week last week for week 7 of Thursday Night Football, right? It was the Broncos. It was the Cardinals. I was without you, gentlemen. Friday, we show up to do the highlights, to talk about the post game, and we're all wearing glasses. We're all getting our Von Miller on. We're excited because he finally had the game when he said he was going to kick everyone's arse. Remember?
Yeah, sure.
The Cardinals' arses, right? Well, that's all fine and well. The Cardinals might be the worst team in the National Football League. You called your shot. You did it. You had 2 strip sacks. This game is more important to me for Von Miller. Von Miller, you're facing the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to go out there and make the red-hot Mahomes and company offensive juggernaut, make them miserable this week. You had 1 tackle, 0 sacks in that Week 4 loss to the Chiefs. Again, 1 tackle and 0 sacks. You're not talking about kicking their arse this week, so I feel like he needs to have one of those Adele, hello. It's me from the other side of the line of scrimmage.
Oh, nice.
That's who I am.
I got you.
Hello, it's me. I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to meet when I sack you. That's the kind of vibe I need him to have going into this matchup up against the Kansas City Chiefs, because it wasn't as great as it was the first time around in Week 4.
Okay, I like that. Von Miller, Adele.
You know what I mean? Like he called the shot.
I do.
Like me saying the Patriots are going to make it deep into the playoffs. Him saying like I'm going to make the Arizona Cardinals' lives miserable. Do that against the Chiefs.
Come on now. Exactly. This is the main show here.
I want to wear glasses.
Wembley.
Not because I've had a couple of beers tomorrow, but I want to wear glasses because of you again.
Yeah, not the
Von
beer
Miller
glasses.
on Monday. Yeah, not those.
That's tough act to follow. I love
so
Adele.
funny?
I don't know. I like this topic. This is good. I'm also going to bring it home. I'm going to talk Baker Mayfield. And I'm going to compare Baker Mayfield to George Michael. All right, George Michael, both these guys, very talented, charismatic, shirtless posing in a lot of headbands, both with a public incident I'm sure they want to have back. But more than this, we got the Steelers this weekend. Now, Baker didn't get a shot at the Steelers the first time around. And is there anything you can think of, any fan base in the world that has had to have more faith than Browns fans? And we're going to get this thing right. Before this river becomes an ocean, Baker is going to hit his stride. Because if they beat the Steelers this weekend, that represents freedom for Browns fans, freedom from everything they've been through. When he came in that Thursday nighter, guys, I mean, remember that? He came out on the field and it was like, wham, with an exclamation point. They always hear so much crap. So people talk so negatively about their team and their town. And I will tell the Browns fans, all that noise, they're just careless whispers that you should just ignore. I think with the first pick, the Browns are going to go from last place to last Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Because they've just been sleeping, the Browns fans.
Yeah,
and Baker Mayfield's one of those you only live once guys.
Yeah,
so I think I say Browns fans, they say to him, wake me up before you YOLO. That's my thing. That is my anthem. We have had faith. And that's all I got.
I'm waiting for I want your blank, and you haven't even worked it in.
I think maybe when the schedule starts moving around, but I want your flex.
The flex game.
I want your flex.
Flex.
Yeah, I like that.
Not a single even smile cracked by this camera crew. Not
really?
even
That one back
one.
there.
Hey, he likes the other guy in Wham.
Amazing stuff
Haven't heard the last of
here with the Fuel Your Hustle. Oikos,
Job,
000.
I'll tell you all about the flex
situation.
scheduling rules later, guys.
I don't want to know anything about it, but after this, I do want to know about the 10.
It's not a green screen.
People really thought that, Drake.
Earlier in the week, no one believed it. It's real. That's not a screensaver.
Great stuff with Nate and Kyle and Peter, and you guys are playing along at home at #GMFB. We talked about what we would name a London NFL squad.
Right.
So,
Right.
our friends out there chimed in.
what do they
Let's see
got?
We've got the London Crumpets or Big Ben Scones.
Not bad.
Okay. Second one seems a little dirty. I don't know if that would play.
That is a winky emoji. We'll see. Royal Flush, not bad.
It's not bad.
Sure. All right. Card playing. It also sounds kind of dirty. Come on, guys.
Jimmy Mack. The Governor.
Governors is good.
Governors is good. It's good. What else we got?
All right.
Jimmy Mack. I like apostrophe in the middle of the name. Classic.
We don't have a bulldog.
No, it reminds me of old Davy Boy Smith, the British bulldog. I miss him. Man wore cornrows.
English muffins.
With the nooks and crannies.
Not as intimidating as maybe a
But
Jaguar.
it's in the same vein as
or a
my
lion.
London Complex cars.
It is. It's in the same family.
Nobody wants to be called a muffin on the football field, though.
No.
Nah.
Okay, if there was a team called the Complex Cars, what would their helmet logo be? A giant pie or something, or a
Yes.
beer?
It would definitely be a pie. A pie on one side and a beer on the other. And then, like, you have to wear, like, a pillow stuffed under you because you're just fat.
It's already my favorite team. Everybody looks like a mascot.
All right,
We
kid.
love that guy touchdowns.
Oh, yes, we do. Everybody's Linval.
Linval, he just called you fat, bro.
You are, and I love you. 1985 was Live Aid, the biggest concert of all time. Queen was one of the bands that played there. Who were the other bands, guys? There was Led
The
Zeppelin,
Who.
right? The Who.
Madonna.
Around the world, billion people watching. One of those bands was Queen, and their lead singer, Freddie Mercury, before they went to Wembley Stadium as they were rehearsing, he told the band, "We're going to punch a hole in the roof." And they said, "Freddie, Wembley doesn't actually have a roof." So he said, "All right, we're going to punch a hole in the sky." Got everybody fired up. They played one of the most legendary sets ever. We got a taste of that Freddie Mercury energy and the band. The four of us got to go to the purple carpet premiere of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. It was nuts. Nate and Kay looked amazing. So did Peter. Looked all right. I looked fine. We had a blast.
Well, listen, that was the first time seeing it.
Yeah.
And I am blown away. So thank you to everybody involved. That looked like a movie. We were headed in to watch the movie, but that was incredibly shot.
Amazing, right? There's rock stars there on the carpet. There's young movie stars. There's thousands of media members.
You were nuts about Michael Myers.
Mike Myers.
Mike
Thank
Myers,
God, not Michael Myers. This
Not
time
Michael
too.
Myers. Mike
He's
Myers.
out there
Same
too
thing.
right now.
He's coming back
Yes,
too.
we're going nuts. Straig's giddy for Mike Myers.
Mike Myers got out of a limousine, and I went through images of Austin Powers, of Saturday Night Live, of Sprockets, and
You
he
stood
couldn't
in
have
the
been
cold.
funnier.
You
Yeah.
stood in the cold, and I was like, "Can we go inside now?" And you're like, "No, Mike Myers might walk down this way."
Mike Myers is pretty cool. It was
Yeah.
good, and the movie itself was really good and exciting, and the music was fantastic. We're talking Oscars maybe for Rami Malek, the lead who plays Freddie Mercury.
He was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And I'll just throw this out there. I don't know what Twitter's going to think. Freddie Mercury, GOAT lead singer of all time. You can have your Robert Plant, your
Really?
Mick Jagger, anybody you want.
Don't be a prisoner of the moment
GOAT
here, Kyle.
lead singer,
Okay.
Peter, come at me.
I'm just going to ask you why. You can't just say it and not
Sure.
have a reason.
Unparalleled vocal talent, pure vocals the best, credible showmanship, and by the way, then he'll come over and play a piano unbelievably. I don't see Mick Jagger sitting down tickling the ivories. Freddie Mercury, GOAT.
You know what stood out to me? Like, of course, we're no Queen, but we are four strangers that wanted to come together and do something special. And in that movie, they had these almost revolutionary moments where they took extreme risk. And they were basically saying, like, we are the outcasts, playing for the outcasts, we belong to them. And for what it's worth, we came in as this young show doing things a little bit different when it comes to delivering football. And I identify with that. There were moments while I was watching that movie, and I couldn't help but to think, us being four strangers, now being family, that we're
the
following,
queen of the NFL.
We're just following in the footprints of greatness. So I'm loving it. And
Hey, there we are. One cool deal is that their biggest concert, which
Nate.
Kyle said is, Kay, you look great. Kyle, you were at the event.
Peter, first time winning a three-piece.
Kyle, you were there also.
Peter, tell us one more time you wore a three-piece suit.
I wore a three-piece
Peter had a
suit.
monocle, too.
Dignified. But that Wembley is where they had their biggest concert, and that's where these games are being played on the weekend. So you think about the history of great, European soccer game matches, but then to have Queen play in 1985 and then us to be on the field in 2018 is really cool.
You're watching on this huge screen in front of all these people, everyone, and there's obviously music in the movie, and when the music comes on, everybody's stomping their feet, everybody's involved in it, the whole crowd is singing at Wembley during this magnificent showing of a concert that was there 30 years ago.
And if you're not familiar with the Queen catalog, some of the best rock stadium rock anthems. I mean, we're talking Another One Bites the Dust.
We Are the Champions.
We Are the Champions.
We Will Rock You.
Yes. These are songs that you've been singing at arenas and stadiums for your entire life.
I've run out the tunnel to these songs over and over and over again, and they're synonymous with football and getting ready for a game. But what about when we took that shot right in front of the sign, the glittered, bedazzled Bohemian Rhapsody? Do you guys think they knew who we were initially?
They did. I told you they did not. They somehow looked me up found with paparazzi, right? So we're like the first ones on the carpet. The British Paps, and we all, we're taking a couple photos, and we're having the time of our lives. We're dancing around, and then I get this tweet that says, "Hey, didn't know who you were at all, but thanks for being like the girl that we used to test our headshots on and our lighting and our cameras for the real celebrities to like show." And I was like,
we're very self-aware. We didn't expect to be treated like Madonna on the red carpet, but we did show up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when the sun was bright and shining, and it was Yahoo Spain interviewing us.
And we were like,
can't beat it. All in all, incredible experience. Thanks to everybody involved. Thanks for everybody that
Wembley Stadium, from Freddie Mercury to Cody Kessler. Can't beat us.
After party was lit too.
I will, and Queen is everywhere now, and like you said, in stadiums, wherever you go, and I will never hear a Queen song and feel the same way. I will never. It has changed the way
Great movie, you gotta see it.
Consume that music from here on out.
Guys are rocking. Look, I'm knocking.
Sounds like a segment.
It's red because it's the color of love.
Maybe. It goes red at night, Kate. I love the way you're thinking.
Kyle, Peter, Nate, and Kay, and Will Selva out in the newsroom in Los Angeles. Will, happy Week 8 kickoff. Of course, that's tonight in Houston, where Brock Osweiler returns for some revenge as the Dolphins starter.
Well, okay, I'm starting my update with Oakland and the situation there, and if there is a Queen song to best describe it, Under Pressure with David Bowie. Excellent song. That would be the one that I would describe the situation there in Oakland. Well, it has turned into a season of upheaval in Oaktown. First, pass rusher Khalil Mack gets dealt to Chicago. Then Amari Cooper is forced to change addresses in Dallas. Then there was a report about quarterback Derek Carr. The one implying Carr lost the locker room after it looked like he cried following a hit to his non-throwing shoulder against the Seahawks. Carr's older brother came to his defense on Twitter. His tight end also gave an impassioned plea for his signal caller.
All these reports about this locker room being fractured with Derek Carr is the most obnoxious and ridiculous thing I've heard ever. It's to the point to where it's comical and laughable that I'm even sitting here talking about it. Us as players have zero issue with Derek Carr. He is our leader. He's always been our leader. We put a C on his chest for a reason, along with Rodney Hudson. And regardless of what face he makes after a tackle or what everybody wants to dive into and wear him out about, attacking his character or attacking him as a leader on this football team is a joke.
Well, it's no joke on Sunday when the undefeated Rams host the Packers. This means a battle of two former Cal QBs, Jared Goff against Aaron Rodgers. As a fan of the 49ers growing up in the Bay Area, Goff remembers when Rodgers fell all the way to number 24 in the 2005 draft, while his hometown team picked Alex Smith with the first overall pick.
Do you remember the 2005 draft when the Niners had the number 1 pick and Aaron Rodgers was on the board?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Was 10-year-old Jared bummed?
He was upset. But with that being said, I'm a fan of Alex as well. So, but yeah, 10-year-old Jared was very upset when he found out they didn't take Aaron.
Now, this is the first Cal quarterback matchup in the NFL since Week 11, 1983, Nate, and that was when the Falcons ended up having Steve Bartkowski and Vince Ferragamo was playing with the Rams. Also that year, Let's Dance was released by David Bowie in 1983.
Nice.
Hey, baby.
Nice. Put on
appreciate that nugget. Ferragamo, huh?
Away.
Peter Schrager has a Ferragamo suit on right now.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
There we go.
Much. Those two guys are playing well. And speaking of playing well, it's time once again for the NFL's NFL Way to Play Recipient of the Week. The NFL has created a Way to Play initiative in order to promote the correct playing technique. Each week, a panel of NFL legends of players will show who exemplified the proper technique in an NFL game. That panel includes Hall of Famer Orlando Pace, Ronnie Lott, former NFL running back Merrill Hodge, and former Colts head coach Chuck Brown, and of course, finally, NFL Network's own Willie McGinnis.
Willie.
Football life, Willie McGinnis. And the winner receives a personal letter from the commissioner and a $2,500 donation and the player's name to a high school or youth program of his choice. The NFL Way to Play recipient for Week 7 is Bronco superstar Von Miller. Right. So let's get right to it. Let me show you how we did this right here. Check out Von Miller. My man, listen, you can hit the quarterback without having to get a flag thrown. He tracks the QB. keeps playing through the tackle. He goes low, but not too low. You check him out, he sees Rosen. He doesn't have to hit him on his helmet. He doesn't have to shove his forearm in there.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to go low where you're aiming for his knees. You can wrap somebody around the waist, take your helmet out of it, and take a guy down to the ground. Now, this isn't taking a guy down to the ground softly and placing a pillow underneath him. This is still a huge play because he actually gets the sack, and then he gets the ball out. So making a play like Von Miller did this past week, and you can do a little shimmy too.
I love it.
That shows all the young defensive players coming into this game that are complaining about the new rules that you can not only make a play, make a sack, but you can get the ball out without getting a flag thrown or a fine in your locker on that following Monday. So shout out to Von Miller. Way to play recipient.
2 strip sacks in that game. Tough test this week against Patrick Mahomes. He couldn't get his hands on him back in week 4. Awesome stuff. And congrats to Von Miller on the award and that $2,500 donation that will be made in his name. And we cannot wait to find out who the NFL Way to Play recipient is for this next upcoming week. All right, after this, gentlemen, the Texans. We know that they've won 4 straight. We've got all the coverage that you need on a pair of 4-3 squads trying to make waves under the bright lights. Omar Ruiz is live with us at NRG Stadium in Houston. They're hosting the Dolphins, but Omar, after an 0-3 start, the Texans, they find themselves at the top of their division. How big have their defensive stars been over the course of this 4-game win streak? I feel like J.J. Watt's crushing it, and nobody's really talking about it.
Well, this is exactly what they envisioned when they drafted Jadeveon Clowney with the #1 overall pick back in 2014 to play alongside J.J. Watt. Now, a lot of people are knocking wood around here. This is one of the few times in their careers where they've been relatively healthy at the same time for an extended period of time, and they are playing like it. During that 4-game winning streak, you mentioned a combined 8.5 sacks, 16 quarterback hits, and 11 tackles for loss. As Dolphins head coach Adam Gase described it, when those two converge in the backfield, it's like a hand grenade going off. So much havoc being wreaked. They hope to continue to make that sort of impact again tonight. And speaking of impact, Clowney and Watt combining to make an impact in the community. 2 of the 16 players taking part in the Texans TACT program. Texans all-community team, players like DeAndre Hopkins and J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, buying about 240 season tickets that they didn't distribute to community organizations around the Houston area. Places like the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, and the USO. And, of course, you can't come to Houston without mentioning J.J. Watt and the more than $41 million he raised last year for the relief efforts of Hurricane Harvey. Most of that money has been distributed by now to be spent over the next couple of years, so that Herculean effort certainly continuing to impact lives. It'll be impacting lives for years to come. And as great as J.J. Watt has been on the field, obviously, he'll be much more remembered for the efforts he did here last year and for years to come in the relief effort of Hurricane Harvey.
Well said. Omar Ruiz will be joining us all day long leading into that action, which you can see right here on NFL Network. That defense certainly bringing it, and they've got Brock Osweiler in his first game against the Texans as a starter. Deshaun Watson on the other side sacked 26 times so far this season. That is more than any quarterback in the National Football League. 2 teams trying
cheat by pushing off. Sometimes it's chicken wings, sometimes it's arm. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying to wide receiver position.
Burying the lead a little bit, you said the best receiver in all of football to start this off.
I ain't burying the lead. I think everybody understands that. Antonio Brown, he's coming, but he doesn't have the crown right now. But the fact that DeAndre Hopkins is saying, I don't know who you are, that digs so deep. I've said that a couple of times to a couple of young cornerbacks. Janoris Jenkins, when he was young, playing with the St. Louis Rams, he was talking, barking. And I was having myself a day. And I said, bro, I don't even know who you are. I love that. You game plan for me. You weren't even on the game plan for us. And I saw it in his eyes. He was like, what? Yeah, really, I was joking. So I can't wait to see this battle because this is old school, trash-talking football, and these two players are going to collide in a major way.
Carissa Thompson actually drove around with DeAndre Hopkins. We're going to be sharing that later on in the show to get you guys set for Thursday Night Action, so stay tuned.
I remember Aaron Foster, a former Texan, used to go, turn around, let me see your name. Turn around, what is your name? I don't know who you are.
That's awful.
I'm looking at Brock Osweiler tonight against his old team, and not only am I looking at it, I'm rooting for him. I think the 4 of us take pride in that we don't take cheap jokes at easy targets. Right. There's things in the media, and certainly social media, that are just the dumbest, lowest hanging fruit. Nickelback jokes, and Shia LaBeouf, and J.R. Smith and Amanda Bynes and Keanu Reeves acting and Philly and Boston sports stereotypes. I hate them. There's also a club of quarterback low-hanging fruits that we've seen over the years that are just the easy target. Jay Cutler, Sage Rosenfels, our friend Dan Orlovsky takes a lot. And somewhere right between Sam Bradford and Matt Schaub is Brock Osweiler. And I'm over it because let's talk about what Brock Osweiler's done.
Right.
Sat behind Peyton, comes off the bench, wins his first career game. Yeah. Has the nerve to accept this huge contract from Houston. The audacity to sign what they offered him after winning a ring. He goes to Houston, guys, he didn't play well. He didn't. And there's no other way to put that. But he did win a playoff game, ditched by the Texans, Browns, Broncos again. And now guess what? He's one of the 32 again for the Miami Dolphins. For some reason, there's all this love for Ryan Fitzpatrick, even though he's thrown 6 picks in a game, has made a ton of money, has never played in the playoffs. It's almost like if Brock Osweiler had a wacky beard and went to Harvard, we would think he's a lovable figure. He's not. I root against guys who do dumb things off the field and who are unprofessional and out of shape. Brock Osweiler is not that. He is not the nickelback of quarterbacks. I am rooting for him tonight, and I hope he looks in the mirror tonight, looks at himself and says, this is how you remind me of who I really am. And I hope you see it. I'm rooting for it.
I like that.
Kroger, hello.
A Super Bowl champion, $30 million in the bank.
River Thames.
The Nickelback, a Canadian rock band. Love it.
Perfectly said, man.
I like that, and I like the revenge game factor of it all, of course. And I always love thinking about how these guys feel going into this matchup. DeAndre Hopkins agitated a little bit. Brock with maybe something to prove going up against the Texans where it didn't fare well. There's a low-key revenge game in this one that I'm intrigued by. It's Lamar Miller. We don't talk about it very much because he was born in Miami. He grew up in Miami. He went to the U. He spent his first 4 years of his career as a Miami Dolphin. They part ways with him. He gets signed in free agency to the Texans, and he's one of the least talked about running backs who get the ball as much as they do on any given Sunday. He's also coming off a 100-yard outing in Week 7. He also is facing a Dolphins defense that is the 4th most generous in points and yards per carry allowed in the league. One of the run defense really in Miami that is struggling. I feel like with Deshaun Watson, not 100%, still, coming off an injury, several injuries. The fact that he has been sacked 26 times behind that offensive line. Why wouldn't you lean on Lamar Miller? And I feel like he's going to give a little extra when he has that ball in his hand.
Up against his former team. Of course he wants to represent, Kay.
Of course. A little revenge game that's gone under the radar.
I like that.
Adam Gase is a fascinating personality in our league.
Talk about it.
We crown so many young coaches, whether it be Sean McVay or Mike Vrabel, maybe even a little prematurely, and we say these are the guys, and we love them because they've got these big personalities, all stuff. Gase isn't very well liked by the media, and Gase doesn't necessarily love the media itself. In fact, 2 weeks ago, after the Tannehill-Osweiler stuff before the game, a local reporter, Armando Salguero, asked Adam Gase about when we would know about Ryan Tannehill, and here's what Adam Gase had to say.
I don't know. I think there's some kind of like HIPAA law or something like that. They can't talk about. I don't know. I don't sit there and ask him all these questions, and I just know the guy couldn't go today. All right, go ask him. I'm tired of answering this question about this guy. I got it, but you know what? I'm over it. Me and him, we know that he's not right now. Okay, the details of it, we'll keep that to us. You guys don't need to know that.
Last week they lose a game and Devontae Parker isn't dressed. This is Devontae Parker's agent talking about Adam Gase. Coach Gase is incompetent.
Whoa.
Period.
What?
And not telling the truth when it comes to Devontae, which is totally healthy and was needed big time today. This is the 3rd game he has done this to Devontae this year. It's sickening and a grossly unfair characterization of my client. Adam Gase right now is up against it. They're a winning team. They're 4-3. Things are working. And yet the media doesn't love him. The agents of the players don't love him. And we've already seen him get rid of Ndamukong Suh, Jay Ajayi, Jarvis Landry, and a Pouncey brother, saying they're not great for my locker room. Adam Gase is up against the wall. Tonight, and country watching, people rooting against him, can't help but to think about where we are and go through some of the great British generals of all time.
Take us away, Peter.
Let's start with Vice Admiral Lord Nelson, Horatio Lord Nelson. Guys, if you don't know it, it was the Battle of Cape St. Vincent. This man right here.
That's a hat.
This guy right here disobeyed orders. He broke from the line and he boarded and forced the surrender of 2 Spanish ships. His admiral said, don't go. He took his troops, went in, and they raided the Spanish, and they won that battle in 1797.
Okay.
How about the Duke of Wellington? You guys fans of the Duke of Wellington?
Who isn't, Peter?
I know we love the Duke of Wellington. Battle of Waterloo. Napoleon, a lot of press. Everyone loves Napoleon. 33,000 French troops. But guess what? Duke of Wellington, with just 17,000 men, beat him. Beat Napoleon, and guess what? Underrated conqueror right there, I think. I think Duke of Wellington, a little underrated. In the
in a different era, he would be more appreciated.
But when we speak about conquerors, William the Conqueror is the GOAT. William the Conqueror.
Goat Conqueror?
1066, he led the Norman conquest of England. Guys, his victory in the Battle of Hastings was the turning point for an entire European land. This was the guy. He was responsible for sweeping changes not only to this area, but to Christianity, to aristocracy, to culture.
Okay. Peter, they were banged up too. The Battle of Hastings was his flu game.
That was. I'd say all that to say this. Adam Gase, there have been some great people in this nation who have led troops against the odds. I want to see Gase back against the wall. Really find a way tonight, because when an agent is calling you out publicly, when the media is up against you, and when we're not crowning you, no pun intended, it is time for you to take it and you do it yourself. Dolphins, no one's taking them in this one. Osweiler up against a 4th straight on the road.
Yep.
Adam Gase, we're looking for you. Go conquer some land.
Well said. I hope they're watching. I hope all the Dolphins are watching. Hashtag Fins Up. We know the fans. One of the most vocal fan bases. They're tweeting all morning, talk about the Dolphins. Talk about the Dolphins. So I know that they're watching and enjoy that encouragement, Trace.
That's it.
Shout out to the
Duke of Wellington.
That was an amazing history lesson over here.
Duke of Wellington. Funny on Twitter.
Yeah?
At the real Duke of Wellington.
Yeah,
I like it.
We'll be back after this. We are live in London. So Christian McCaffrey. I gotta go. Okay. Did I get myself a chicken? What is it? A Cheeky Nando.
A spicy chicken sandwich or a bloke.
That's one way to describe
it. Boyfriend, same thing. Will Selva out in the newsroom in Los Angeles. I am the color of my blazer right now. Take it away.
I believe it. Thank you, Kay. Hang in there. Well, a friend of the show, our buddy, Latavius Murray, picking up the slack in the Vikings backfield in the absence of Dalvin Cook, who's been sidelined with a hamstring injury. The Tay Train rushing for 224 yards and 3 scores in Minnesota's last 2 wins. As for Cook, he's expected to miss a 4th straight game because of that hamstring injury. This, according to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero. Cook, coming off an ACL injury, has played in just 3 games this season, totaling 98 yards on 36 carries. Vikings defensive end Everson Griffin back with the team on Wednesday after missing the last 5 weeks while dealing with personal issues related to his mental health. Griffin says he's happy to be back, feeling good, and taking it one day at a time to get things back on track. And Coach Mike Zimmer not saying if Griffin will play Sunday against the Saints. Of course, the Jaguars taking on the Eagles in London on Sunday. We've been talking about it all week long, right? Jacksonville hoping to right the ship after losing 3 straight games. Reports coming out that Calais Campbell had to restrain a teammate in the locker room and held a players-only meeting earlier this week. But he told our very own Scott Hansen things have been blown out of proportion.
We're definitely still together, tight-knit group. We always, no matter what you do in this game, when you lose a couple games, it's going to be a little frustrating at times. But, guys are emotional and passionate, but ready to go to work, ready to kind of get back in the win column. It's never fun losing. It's a lot better when you win this game. But at the end of the day, this is a child's game. We got to enjoy ourselves and go out there and just get one win, get back in the win column so we can get this train back rolling in the right direction.
And for the full interview with Calais, be sure to catch NFL Total Access tonight following the Dolphins-Texans game. Campbell also gives his thoughts on quarterback Blake Bortles and if he's the right man to lead the team, and Jalen Ramsey getting his swag back. All that in the interview with Calais Campbell. It's interesting. We've heard from Calais Campbell and Lee Smith in Oakland, who say all this reporting out there about upheaval in the locker room has been overblown. But either way, 2 desperate franchises there who are seeking wins, and lots of them.
We'll see what happens here on Sunday at Wembley. Appreciate you, Will Selva. Have you ever been in a players-only meeting?
Oh, yeah, just about every year. If you're winning, you have them because you want to keep guys on track, and when you're losing, they happen until you win. And what I love about that, when listening to these guys talk about what's going on in the locker room and keeping it in-house, I'd rather there be fights or something close to a fight within the locker room on a losing team than guys walking in the locker room, taking a shower, showing up next week, collecting a check, and just repeating that cycle until you're on vacation somewhere.
So who spurs that? Is it like, I don't know much
Veteran
about
leader, or is it
like,
the coach says, hey, you got to go do this?
Is it a group text?
Listen, if the coach has to convince the players to have a players-only meeting, the players don't really want it. So the players have to look at each other and say, no coaches.
And is that
no
a card you don't bring out, like almost crying wolf? How often do you bring that card out and say,
break glass in case of emergency?
Yeah, like, you can't have too many players-only meetings or the players start tuning out on the players-only meeting.
It's basically like the leader crying wolf, and he just wants attention. Hey, guys, another players meeting. No, you got to do it when it really matters. And right now, for the simple fact that the Jags are in the position they're in, they're saying, we got to fix this. We got to fix it right now. I can appreciate that. That means they want to correct it. There's other teams, I promise you, Kay, right now, they can care less, and there is no player meetings. And they are, as soon as their day ends, they are out the door in their car on their way to the big house.
But if I'm a Jags fan, should I be encouraged by this? Is it effective? Players meetings are effective?
Yeah. I'd rather see guys angry than walking away from a loss with a smile on their face.
See, I'm intrigued by that. If I'm a Jags fan, this goes one of two ways. Like, sometimes you hear the physical separation in a locker room and the whole thing falls apart. The other time, though, we've seen on this show the Seahawks, when the LOB was together on the sideline, screaming, separating everything, and it galvanizes them. It makes me very intrigued for this weekend, because this whole thing could fall apart if there's fighting going on, or it could be that this is us, we're brothers to get together. It only goes one of two ways.
Like all those times Kyle's always fighting with Hamilton, and we're like, guys, stop fighting.
Look at this guy's jacked.
We end up having a great show the next day.
You're right about that.
All right, great conversation there. More on that game, as we will be there for it on Sunday here in London. But if you love the NFL, you're going to love the NFL app. It's back this season, completely reimagined, and you can now live stream your local games and get all primetime games live right here on your phone, along with the all-new Game Center for breaking news, highlights, stats, the real-time insights from around the NFL or your team, your favorite team, whoever you're married to, their favorite team, all of that. Download.
Game has to be what we call their Kraken Belter. Kraken Belter, that major hit single that shot up the charts and took them worldwide. Nate, you are chomping at the bit to get in this, my friend. What do you have for your Kraken Belter in the NFL?
Well, I'm looking at the Jaguars. Okay. And of course, that team is dealing with so much, right? Starting decent and then falling off. And it seems like there's all this bitterness and this chippiness. There's arguments on the sideline. There's arguments in the locker room. It seems like every time these guys are talking to the media, they don't have that same swagger, that same bounce. They have a little bit of anger. So I'm going with a classic.
What do you got?
With Oasis.
Okay.
What do you got, Nate?
Don't look back in anger.
Oh, Gallagher's.
Because listen, right out the gate, it starts off, it says, slip inside the eye of your mind. Don't you know what you may find? A better place to play. I feel like if these guys, listen, just think introspectively. Just look deep inside. Forget about the noise. Forget about what they're saying about your defense. Forget about what they're saying about your quarterback. Forget about people saying the Jaguars are just the Jaguars of old. They're not the Jaguars of last year. Just look inside. All the swagger, all the bounce, all the confidence, it's inside, man. So look, don't go angry, because last year you guys weren't angry. You guys were having fun.
You're right.
And kicking butt while doing it. So get back to that bounce that you guys had.
That's what I'm saying.
No more anger. Don't look back in anger.
All right.
Gallagher brothers are fighting all the time, just like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Where were you while we were on a bye?
I'm going to go to Scotland. Can I go to Scotland?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to go to Scotland. I'm going to go to Glasgow, one of the greatest bands to come out of Glasgow. And I'm going to go to my favorite movie from the 80s, The Breakfast Club.
Okay.
And
Peter,
the band
do it.
Simple Minds.
Hey, baby.
The song is Don't You Forget About Me. And the player is Aaron Rodgers. Because here we go.
I dig it.
Aaron Rodgers, we were on a bye last week, and we've been raving about Patrick Mahomes and raving about Jared Goff. And we know the games that Breeze and Brady had, but don't you forget about... You know the rest.
Judd Nelson, baby, all day.
I can't sing it because I don't do them the honor. My voice in the Scottish accent doesn't work.
I think you do.
I tried it. Judd Nelson walking off that football field, fist raised. Let's go. Let's just stop
Fingerless
it. John
gloves.
Hughes, fingerless gloves. Aaron Rodgers. Don't forget about Aaron Rodgers, guys, because he's coming. I know the start of the season was rocky, the injuries. He had two amazing performances. One in a loss against Detroit, and then obviously the victory on Monday Night Football. That was insane. He's coming, and the MVP race is not done yet.
Love that.
Me
I was
too.
at NFL Films to end the week last week for week 7 of Thursday Night Football, right? It was the Broncos. It was the Cardinals. I was without you, gentlemen. Friday, we show up to do the highlights, to talk about the post game, and we're all wearing glasses. We're all getting our Von Miller on. We're excited because he finally had the game when he said he was going to kick everyone's arse. Remember?
Yeah, sure.
The Cardinals' arses, right? Well, that's all fine and well. The Cardinals might be the worst team in the National Football League. You called your shot. You did it. You had 2 strip sacks. This game is more important to me for Von Miller. Von Miller, you're facing the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to go out there and make the red-hot Mahomes and company offensive juggernaut, make them miserable this week. You had 1 tackle, 0 sacks in that Week 4 loss to the Chiefs. Again, 1 tackle and 0 sacks. You're not talking about kicking their arse this week, so I feel like he needs to have one of those Adele, hello. It's me from the other side of the line of scrimmage. That's who I am.
I got you.
Hello, it's me. I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to meet when I sack you. That's the kind of vibe I need him to have going into this matchup up against the Kansas City Chiefs, because it wasn't as great as it was the first time around in Week 4.
Okay, I like that. Von Miller, Adele.
You know what I mean? Like, he called the shot. It's like me saying the Patriots are going to make it deep into the playoffs. And saying, like, I'm going to make the Arizona Cardinals' life miserable. Do that against the Chiefs.
Come on now. Exactly. This is the main show here.
I want to wear glasses.
Wembley.
Not because I've had a couple of beers tomorrow, but I want to wear glasses because of you again.
Yeah, not the
Von
beer
Miller
glasses.
on Monday. Not those.
It's tough act to follow. I love Adele.
Funny.
I don't know. I like this topic. This is good. I'm also going to bring it home. I'm going to talk Baker Mayfield. And I'm going to compare Baker Mayfield to George Michael. All right, George Michael, both these guys, very talented, charismatic, shirtless posing in a lot of headbands, both with a public incident I'm sure they want to have back. But more than this, we got the Steelers this weekend. Now, Baker didn't get a shot at the Steelers the first time around. And is there anything you can think of, any fan base in the world that has had to have more faith than Browns fans? And we're going to get this thing right. Before this river becomes an ocean, Baker is going to hit his stride. Because if they beat the Steelers this weekend, that represents freedom for Browns fans, freedom from everything they've been through. When he came in that Thursday nighter, guys, I mean, remember that? He came out on the field and it was like, wham, with an exclamation point. And they always hear so much crap. So people talk so negatively about their team and their town. And I will tell the Browns fans, all that noise, they're just careless whispers that you should just ignore. I think with the first pick, the Browns are going to go from last place to last Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Because they've just been sleeping, the Browns fans. And Baker Mayfield's one of those you only live once guys. So I think I say Browns fans, they say to him, wake me up before you YOLO. That's my thing. That is my anthem. We have had faith. And that's all I got.
I'm waiting for I want your blank, and you haven't even worked it in.
I think maybe when the schedule starts moving around, but I want your flex.
The flex game. I want your flex.
Flex. Yeah, I like that.
Not a single even smile cracked by this camera crew. Not
really?
even
Got one back
one.
here. Hey, he likes the other guy in Wham.
Amazing stuff
Haven't heard the last of
here with the Fuel Your Hustle. Oikos, 000.
I'll tell you all about the flex scheduling rules later, guys.
I don't want to know anything about it. But after this, I do want to know about the East London.
Will Silva.
Looks like the Emperor in Star Wars. Take it away.
Dark side.
Take it away, Will.
Thank you, Kay. It's like, guards, seize him. Schrager over there with that accent. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, when the Cardinals take on the 49ers on Sunday, they'll be doing so with the new offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich. He's tasked with trying to help turn around an Arizona offense that ranks 31st in the NFL, averaging a little more than 13 points a game. His quarterback, Josh Rosen, was back at practice after sitting out Monday's session. Rosen dealing with a big toe injury that he said got bent backwards in last Thursday's loss to the Broncos. Ouch. Rosen said he's good to go, though, for Sunday's matchup with the 49ers. Elsewhere, the Broncos have released backup quarterback Chad Kelly following his arrest on suspicion of first-degree criminal trespassing Tuesday. GM John Elway saying in a statement that the decision was made as an organization after reviewing all the information and agreed it was the right thing to do. Cam Newton playing his best football since his 2015 MVP campaign. Cam averaging a career-best 65.6 completion percentage while throwing 11 touchdown passes compared to just 4 picks. One of his opponents this week, Ravens safety Eric Weddle, with a prehistoric comparison for Cam.
a dinosaur, a fast dinosaur, muscular and big, runs people over and in the open field can make guys miss. So he's a very unique quarterback in this league. The only one really like him.
And when Cam was asked about that comment, he shook it off and actually joked about it. So Eric Weddle comparing him to a dinosaur. Good thing William Hayes wasn't around because he doesn't believe in dinosaurs, as we learned on an episode of Hard Knocks a while back.
That's right, Will. If you were a dinosaur, which one would you be?
I would be a pterodactyl, so I could swoop in on everybody. That's what I'd be. Off the top of my head.
And that's what you do.
I wish somebody would describe
You swoop in on our show and you steal it every time. All right, now speaking of dinosaurs.
Shreddadactyl, Nate?
Oh, okay. I see what you did there. Well, see you later, Will. Now listen, it's time for another edition of Shreddy or Not.
Nice, Nate.
Shreddy or
We
not.
are here to take a
Shreddy
look
or not.
at some of the recent fantasy trends, and we turn to our resident fantasy expert,
Hi.
Kay Adams. And she will decide which ones are going to continue and which ones are going right in the shredder.
Yes.
All right.
Here
You could have found it, Nate.
Really quick.
Austin Powers.
Here's what we decided to do, because we went to the Queen Bohemian Rhapsody premiere and had so much fun. Look at us, guys.
Yeah.
We looked awesome, felt awesome. It was great. I thought there was no other way to go this week than Shreddy Mercury.
Let me use my back. Come on.
Nate.
This isn't the one from the States, Kay.
It's not. But you know what? I was going to bring
size
it.
of the
I know.
It's massive.
I was going to bring the one from the States, but I've seen The Office and it originated in London here, and this
David
is in there.
Brent.
This is the one from that Office.
Okay, is this a microwave too? Look at the size of this thing.
What, are you still hungry after everything we've eaten here?
Oh, it's going to heat up, Nate, for sure.
So you guys are going to give me some things that people are saying on Twitter. People think, hot takes, that I'm going to either shred because I don't believe it's going to happen this week for fantasy owners, or we do not shred because it's legit.
All right, I got you. So first up, the Rams, they have been rolling, but Jared Goff has been kind of slowing down from fantasy perspective. Jared Goff gets held under 20 fantasy points for the 4th straight week. Okay.
Man, he's been under 20 fantasy points for 3 straight weeks. Do you want to give me the actual paper, or do you want me to shred your card?
Give him the paper. That card. I don't know if this thing can take the card.
What?
Jared Goff gets held under 20 fantasy points. Okay, so let's look at what he's done lately, right? By the way, he's been on the road for 3 games. So yes, his fantasy points haven't been there. This is the last 3 weeks. It has not been great. But now you're starting to look at trends, right? When he's at home at the Coliseum, he is lights out. He truly is. He's averaging 391 yards and 3 touchdowns per game at home this season. So I like Jared Goff. He is going against the Packers, right? And people are saying, okay, well, let me look at what the Packers are giving up to quarterbacks. And it's not a lot. The Packers are stingy against quarterbacks. But then you realize the only top guy that they face, top 10 quarterback, is Kirk Cousins. So we don't like to just give you the surface level, this is where they rank and points allowed to blah, blah, blah. We really dig into it, Hamilton and I, mostly Hamilton. So we're finding these great trends. Hamilton, I'm going to say that he, against the Packers in what could be a high-scoring game with Aaron Rodgers, knowing what time it is at 3-2-1, this is going to be shredded. He will go back to over 20 fantasy points, mostly because he finally gets to go back home.
Does the British shredder work? Here we go. Moment of truth.
Did you pick the Packers up against the Rams?
Come on, Freddie.
Moment of truth.
Come on, Freddie. Don't stop me
No,
now.
I'm saying fantasy points.
Oh. Hey.
It's nice and slow. I like it.
It's a slow shred.
Okay.
Slow.
We love you, Shreddy.
Not bad.
What do you got?
All right. You know, there was another Hamilton back in the day who led to a divorce from this country. Okay, but I'm going to talk about one of my favorite royals of the 20th century. That, of course, is King Shredward VIII. Are we going to crown this young man, Christian McCaffrey? Many wives. You got around. Christian McCaffrey, probably not. Has 100 total plus yards versus a very good Baltimore Ravens defense, Kay Adams. What say you?
I'm scared to play him this week because he's been crushing it for sure, but the Ravens are allowing the fewest fantasy points to running backs. Alvin Kamara only had 75 yards against them a week ago, and I just feel like since they're so stingy, I'm not interested. Look, those are pretty good names, right? Pretty good names.
I like those names.
Not putting up huge numbers. And Christian McCaffrey has slowed down, guys. He's averaging 73 per game over his last 2 games. He averaged 130 yards over his first 4. No running back has had 100 yards against this defense, so I don't think it's going to be Christian McCaffrey.
Into the shredder.
The shredder he goes.
Oh, my goodness. Man, this thing is... Intense.
I know, but it's very aggressive. It's very big.
Wow, it's very heavy. Very big. Christian into the shredder.
Yeah, Christian into the.
We're talking Coliseum.
What do you got,
very
kiddo?
dark stuff.
Jarvis Landry, all right, he's had a couple of good games. He's made a huge touchdown catch last week in that game against Buccaneers. He will outscore T.Y. Hilton. I've loved a lot of shows here. I'm going to the West Shrend tonight.
Oh, wow, Peter. You should take a West lap.
No, that was good. The West Shrend.
The West Shrend. It was a great one. He botched it, Peter. Tomatoes.
I'm going to say, okay, so if you look at NFL projections right now, NFL.com, and you pull up where the wide receivers are going, these two are neck and neck this week with Jarvis at Pittsburgh for a second time this season. But listen, he did not have a good time the first time he faced the Steelers as a Brown. And he's been up and down this season. There's a lot of inconsistency there. He's only had double-digit points 3 times so far this year. And I feel like the Steelers secondary is playing a little bit better. Last 2 games holding A.J. Green and Julio to an average of 72 yards apiece and no touchdowns. T.Y. Hilton, rather, coming off an injury last week. He had 2 touchdowns against
Okay, you know what you got to say? Shred him. Shred him. Bless him. Shred him.
Shred him.
As Freddie Mercury once said, another one bites the dust.
I have one for you guys. You guys ready?
Oh, yes.
Found its way to the table. The Mr. Bean mask isn't creepy.
Oh.
What mask are you referring to?
So if we shred it, we're saying it's creepy?
Yeah.
Do we have any video?
The Mr. Bean mask isn't creepy. I would like to hear arguments for both.
Imagine waking up to that after a long night. A long bed.
I'm driving a car in that scene.
Oh, yeah. I know
It's so scary.
I would say no. It's good. I would say no.
It's not. You're gonna
How many
say,
guys have walked up to you in a club looking just like that? Or, hey, Katie, you want to dance?
and they're all creepy.
Yeah, I got
Peter, on camera, what would Mr. Bean say about this?
What do you think?
I think it's
so creepy.
wildly creepy,
So you think I
especially
should
when
shred
Nick
it?
stuck up on you in your face like that.
I should
Yes,
shred
shred it. That's what Mr. Bean's
You're shredded
It gone. See you later. Shredded beans.
That's so final.
Look how proud Freddie is of it too. He loves it. That's right.
There's no coming back from that.
I could smell. Hey, listen.
Oh, it smells
Shredded
weird
beans?
now.
Is it smoking?
Smells weird.
Yeah.
The diesel
That's what beans do.
Oh, man.
That is Shreddy or not. Thank you, Shreddy Mercury. We'll be back after this on Good Morning Football.
Beans are good for
The
you.
world
I learned that 46,000 people have season tickets to this London series. So they get 3 games. They get the Raiders Seahawks, they get the Chargers Titans, and this is considered the big one. But
They're British
46,000
season ticket
people.
holders?
They're season ticket holders. 46,000. Think about it. Not just 10, not just... All those people bought tickets, and they're not necessarily fans of any of the teams. They just love football.
And how many does Wembley seat?
85,000.
How about that?
85,000.
That blows away the stadiums we have at home.
It's incredible. How much fun are we having this week, right? This is an amazing week. All 4 of us, one of the things that bonds us, we love music. And we love music in different kind of ways. But what's cool about the British band Queen is that everybody has had their music in their lives. Whether it's We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, no matter where you're from, what age you are, you know those songs. And the 4 of us got to go to the world premiere of the new movie about Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. We went to the purple carpet. All 4 of us got totally dressed up. Kay and Nate looked amazing. And we went and saw the movie stars, saw the actors. It was great. Check it out. Carpet.
Yeah, I mean, it was like rocker chic, I think I would describe it. Just the energy was amazing. So many fans wearing Queen t-shirts and just like they were playing the music, pumping it up, and everybody's singing all together. And during the movie, it wasn't like you were watching a movie alone. It's like you were at a rock concert watching a film.
Yeah, there was a certain anxiety that we had because we did the show. And then we brought a separate change of clothes. We took the vehicle there. There was a camera in our vehicle. We get out and we see this purple carpet and everybody snapping away. And then the buzz starts to build and the energy starts to build. And then we sit down and watch the movie, which was incredible. The whole experience was fantastic. And just to think, you know, we're just some kids from the States who love music and the sport of football. And those 2 things.
Is that the first time, Nate, you went to a movie premiere?
First time.
You got to do some cool things. That's your first one?
That was my first time. And it was amazing. I felt like a rock star. And I haven't felt that way since I played football.
We saw it in the Wembley Arena, which was a 7,000-seat auditorium, and Kay nailed it. It was like being at a rock concert because while the movie's going on, people are humming and singing. the movie-going experience was cool, but seeing it in that element for the first time with the actors, the first time they're watching it in front of an audience was really cool. And the lead actor is a guy named Rami Malek, who is also in that show, Mr. Robot, you might have seen, and he's already getting Oscar buzz. It's a really good movie.
You're the Oscar savant of this show. You are an Oscar snob. Do you think, and I know that you haven't seen, not everything's come out, you might have not seen the other contenders, but like, could he get a nom for this?
He can get nominated for Best Actor. It's that good. He plays Freddie Mercury, and imagine embodying Freddie Mercury and all that he went through and all his contribution to music. He nails it.
Kyle, you're no stranger to red carpets, and you're the only person here who has acted before. How was that experience as an actor?
I used to be a hanger-on at premieres 15 years ago when I was a struggling actor. The biggest one I went to was Bad Boys 2, which was insane. But I think the last one I went to was either Must Love Dogs or 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler. So it's been at least 15 years. I've never been to something like that. I will say, too, about the movie, Rami Malek is the lead. But there's one thing that we all got a charge out of. The gentleman who plays the bassist in the movie is an actor named Joe Mazzello, who was the kid in Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park, who climbs up and gets shocked and everything like that. And he's been in the Pacific, and he's a complete workman's actor year after year, and he's awesome in this movie too. So just like sort of
the teeth,
the
whole
Rami Malek is the teeth, and I think he will be going up to the Kodak Theater to collect an Oscar.
Nice.
I do. Yes,
you know, there was a line in the movie, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's basically saying how Queen identifies with its fans, and he said, we're the outcasts playing for the outcasts, like we belong to the misfits. We started our show, we were a little bit of that. Like nobody really wanted to hear this young group of kids who were talking football and music and pop culture, but we stuck with our game plan. And we are who we are, and we're going to be there for the rest of our lives. So thank you for the fans that stuck with us, man. We do this for you.
What if I told you that we have fans here who love us from the Eagles, like somewhere over here? But before we get to that, at Energy Stadium, as always on Thursdays, and we got to talk to Sean Watson because we know he took a bus to last week's game in Jacksonville. He's still dealing with those lung and rib injuries. What is it that's keeping him going throughout all the pain?
Well, playing through pain is something that's certainly been an inspiration for his teammates. He told me that he's certainly honored that his teammates would say that, but he looks at his mom, his teammate Andre Howell overcoming cancer, and even new teammate Tyrann Mathieu, who's come back from 2 torn ACLs to continue to play at a high level. As far as his play on the field, the Texans feeling he's certainly getting better day by day, week by week. Watson telling me he's seeing new defenses, new game situations every single week, still very much learning. Remember, tonight's game will be just his 15th in his short NFL career. He did say that he has learned to protect himself from these injuries, not take unnecessary risks on the field. They need him to be healthy. They've given up 26 sacks, 68 quarterback hits this season. Obviously, his health will be a big concern and be very much a part of their success going forward. Texas tough is what they say here. As much as talent as he's shown off, he's certainly shown that Texas toughness. We're in the plaza between NRG Stadium and the Houston Astrodome, the 8th wonder of the world. This is one of the many sculptures here. You guys have done such a great job showing off the sights and sounds in London there. No mistaking where we are here. This is called Texas Legacy, one of the many sculptures here in this plaza. Bulls on Parade is the nickname for the Texans defense. Cue up Rage Against the Machine there. You can see the Astrodome there. We've seen Deshaun Watson show up with the old school Warren Moon baby blue jerseys, paying tribute to those old Oilers teams. That's where they played. As much history as there is in there with Earl Campbell and Love You Blue and all that, I still can't help but think of the Bad News Bears when they played there back from that movie in the 70s. I know you guys can relate. You probably remember Kelly Leak in those days. So, fun to be here in Texas. We saw the Super Bowl here a couple years ago. They have the Super Bowl every year of rodeos here in March. Certainly a cool place to be this time of year, especially on a Texans game night.
Thanks for showing us everything about the stadium. Of course, all the history there. It's a huge game under the bright lights tonight, and we wish you were here with us in London to catch it, but then we wouldn't have all that great info from you all day long. Omar Ruiz, have a bigger case of collywobbles.
Okay, do you want to define the collywobble?
Not really. Just take it.
I feel like doesn't sound good.
It makes them nervous.
I don't want the collywobble.
A little nervous, like when you hit me with the Mr. Bean sign.
I got you. A little uneasiness. I will say the Jags fans, because when you win a Super Bowl, you have time to kind of come down, and Peter Schrager has talked about this over the last few weeks. You know, they're on a Super Bowl hangover, and so are the fans. But when it comes to the Jags, though, they don't have a hangover. What do they have? A little bit of success that they're leaning on from last year. And I remember a few weeks ago I said, don't remind yourself of who you used to be. not last season, but the previous seasons. If you're the Jags fans, if you're the Jags players, you're sitting there saying, the more we remind ourselves of the bad Jags teams, the more we become them. And I think the fans are sitting back saying, I just hope these guys don't fall into that space. So I feel like the fans for the Jags have a bigger case of the collywobbles.
I'm going to double down with Nate here. I think there's kind of an inferiority thing with the Jaguars. They're the 32nd market. We don't give them enough attention. And finally, you earned it, right? Like, you finally got there. You can't deny a team that goes to the AFC Championship and has this great bravado and this wonderful personality in the locker room like Jalen Ramsey. You don't get that if you don't win. And I think the fans are starting to feel that. We hear from Jaguars fans, both here in the UK and at home in the States, saying, you don't talk about our team enough, you don't talk about our team enough. If you're not a winning team, you're not relevant. You have to win to be discussed. The Eagles are going to be talked about forever. They've been around for many, many decades, and they've got a really strong fan base that's been established for generations. The Jaguars fans, I think they're a little bit on edge. They might have a case of the Collywobbles?
Collywobbles.
A case of the Collywobbles this week.
I'm going to go the other way.
Casey Kasem.
Casey Kasem, back to the countdown.
Well, where are you going?
Well, look, if I'm a Jags fan, Blake Bortles is playing really poorly and Leonard Fournette's hurt. There's a kind of a certainty on that. What gives me the collywobbles is not knowing what's wrong. And if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm saying, what the hell's going on here? This is supposed to be the next step in our dynasty. Never mind getting a Super Bowl, we're supposed to win another one. And I think it's fair to ask at this point, how much do they miss DiFilippo and Reich? They scored 17 points last week at home. 17 points. We got caught up in the comeback. The final score, you can't win in the NFL with 17 points. I don't care how good your defense is. And their defense isn't that good. So we have these fans coming in here and storming London from Philadelphia. There is a very terrified time that we were a one-hit wonder. That we caught the right thing at the right time, and the backup and the dog mask, and we're going to be one of these teams that we forget about that went one and done because the offense ain't there. Carson Wentz is healthy. He's great. What's the problem? I don't know. That gives me the collywobbles.
If you go back to August and July, when you had a lot of confidence in this team personally, and so do, of course, all the Eagle fans. Do you feel like you understated what the missing of those two dudes missing was going to do?
Yeah. Because I said, you look at the rosters and like, they got everybody back. Not only they got everybody back, they added people. But you lose those guys. DiFilippo's doing great. Rice got that thing going. Doug Peterson, it's time to coach him up, maybe.
Yeah. Moving on here. Next up, both Drew Brees and Kirk Cousins after incredible starts. Which quarterbacks had the most gobsmacking situation performance so far this season? Of course, the Saints and the Vikings. This is the game I've got circled and highlighted on my calendar. These two facing each other on Sunday. Who's been most impressive? That's what gobsmacking means.
Gobsmacking is
the everlasting gobsmacker, right?
Everlasting How would Rich Schroeder say it?
Right.
Gobsmacking.
That's our producer, Rich. Big Vikings fan, so I'm going to go with him on this one. Kirk Cousins. Cousins had these high expectations and said, well, can he do what he's got to do? Can he get them? They've now won a few games in a row, and I think that loss to the Bills at home kind of was good for the Vikings. Get rid of that. Exhaust that loss. Get done with it. Flush it out in September. We'd rather you lose that game then than a game in New York where everyone was picking the Jets because the Jets had won 2 in a row, and they blew them out of their own building. So I'm going to say Kirk Cousins. I think there were high expectations. Everyone knows what you're getting from Drew Brees, and he's lived up to it. Kirk Cousins, there were a lot of question marks, and I think he is exceeding expectations.
Does everybody know what they're getting in Drew Brees? I think maybe the fans that love football and know his history assume that he's going to play well, but coming into the season, he was another older quarterback. He didn't have one of his running backs there. Of course, he can't guard Mike, but that was about it. And then we expect him to have one of the best percentages of quarterback to receiver over the first parts of the year, and then breaking record after record, still doing it. And I don't care if people want to argue the fact that it's a different game and they're passing more and you can't touch the wide receivers. He still lights out. So for me, it is Drew Brees. I feel like Drew Brees has overexceeded expectations. Every year we talk about the legends of the game, and it seems like every year he forces us to talk about him because we want to talk about Brady. We want to talk about what Peyton Manning was. And we want to talk about, because he's in kind of this purgatory. We talk about Brady because he's the GOAT. And then we talk about all the guys that are coming up next, right? Who is it? Well, remember it was Luck for a while?
Sure, of course.
And then all of a sudden it was Deshaun Watson
I remember
last
for a
year.
year it was Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott, Wentz, all these guys. I feel like Drew Brees is like, wait a minute. First of all, stop talking about these young dudes that can't even sniff at my stats, and stop mentioning Brady like his numbers are as good as mine.
Check me out.
He might have more rings, but I got more stats.
It's Brees, in my opinion. I totally agree with you, Nate. And it's not just because he is breaking records, which he did that last year with that 72% completion percentage. He's doing it this year and beating it. He's over 77% completion percentage.
That's out of control.
It is insane to me that his 18th season in the NFL is his best season in the NFL. He's having the best season of his entire life, which is sort of wild to me. How many picks does he have, Hamilton? Oh, 0. Yes, 0.
That is awesome.
Look,
there's no doubt that Drew Brees is greater than Kirk Cousins, probably even better. But more impressive, Kirk Cousins is in his infancy in his relationship with Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. Drew Brees has been working with Kamara and Kankar. Man, he shows up Cousins out of nowhere and is rewriting his team's record book. The fact that he's so new and has already hit his stride, I'm going to go Cousins.
Love that. Finally, Britain's been the home of so many legendary musical acts, but let's focus on the 80s, baby. Between the Police and Genesis, which group is top of the pops, guys? And I think that probably means top of the pops.
I'll jump right in. And now there's some gaps.
Look at Collins.
In my musical Rolodex. And Police.
Those images first.
Police and Genesis, not really in my wheelhouse.
NWA did a song about the Police, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Every Breath You Take was first the Police.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So
didn't you sample that?
Yes.
Before the show, I was like, you know what, I'm going to just pick Genesis because it's my favorite video game system.
Now.
Yeah. Nate, there's the rankings of the genocide go like this. There's the gaming system, and then the book, and then the band. I am a big Police guy. Canary in a coal mine, I'll go Deep Tracks for you. A power trio, too. I always respect only a 3-person band. And we're not including the Phil Collins solo work, which should include in the air tonight. Genesis does not get to represent
Police. The Police.
Book of Genesis over Genesis?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
The Sting solo career was nice, but this is the 35th anniversary of Synchronicity, which is one of the greatest albums ever.
About it.
Which you got Every Breath You Take, and you get obviously King of Pain, all these great songs. And to me, the Police, they sold out Wembley 4 times. This is the coolest thing. Go on. That album is one of the greatest albums ever, 1983. Yeah. They were at such ends with each other, a group of 3 guys. They wouldn't talk to each other while they're making it. They had to record their parts separately in different parts of the studio, and the producer put it all together, and it's one of the greatest rock bands ever. They never toured again for probably 20 more years until they had a reunion tour. In 2008, they broke every concert touring record because they were back together. Police! I love a good reunion, and I love Sting.
And I love Kerfuffle Thursday. That wraps it up for us. So Nate and I think that the best receiver in the National Football League is?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, so which player does he not even watch TV?
Xavier Howard. Mabenda tonight.
But I mean, it's the experience of being a London NFL fan. They wake up, they stay up, they set their alarms, and they do the thing.
Game is at 12:30 a.m. locally.
They go on the Raz?
They go on the Raz.
That's right.
And Buck and Aikman will be calling it, and we'll be watching it here.
Cool.
We're going to get a shout out from them, maybe?
Maybe, with a British accent.
I would love
I would love to hear
Troy,
Troy Aikman. Here's a call out. Troy, if you're listening and watching, a Troy Aikman British accent during the promo would be excellent.
Tweet at Troy, everyone. Whoa, do your thing. Hashtag GMFB. Let's bring in Will Selva out in the newsroom in LA. And Will, I love you, but we haven't gotten enough of your accent this week.
Yeah, my accent's, nah. You don't want my accent.
Yeah, I do.
Can I get a Telvin Smith?
No. Listen.
Can I get a British Telvin Smith?
Tally-ho, listen. Tally-ho.
Tally-ho.
Hey, what about Brian Gumbel with a British accent? Could you do that?
I'll tally-ho to everybody over there in London as they have their high tea right now. There you go. Anything else you want me to do? Any other requests?
No,
how about the news? Yes, all right. Well, if you would have said before the season started that the Raiders would trade away both Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, most people would have called you crazy. Well, crazy or not, it actually happened, as we know. Cooper making his first appearance at practice with the Cowboys on Wednesday. He'll get another practice in today before the team breaks for the bye week. The new face of the Cowboys receiving corps says he's thrilled to get a fresh start with America's team.
So we got some reps in today, route running on air, and then a couple reps in some team periods, and I really like the way he throws the ball. It's a good ball. You know, you just have to be a good learner, and I think I'm that. I'm already adjusting and picking up the system pretty well, so I'm going to have to do a lot of studying to not just learn the playbook, but to learn it to not make any mistakes. You know, it's a fresh start. This is a good team. I'm just giving them something to build on, I guess you can say. And it's America's team. Who wouldn't be excited?
Quarterback.
Well, more on the Raiders. The team partnering with the American Cancer Society, hosting 25 cancer survivors for a cooking class as part of the NFL's Crucial Catch initiative. Survivors and players divided into small groups, creating some tasty custom dishes. Those in attendance were also invited to attend Sunday's game against the Colts. Among those who were there, safety Reggie Nelson and linebacker Markel Lee. And the Raiders, of course, as we've seen, have been in the news for all the wrong reasons, but You know me, I like to spotlight all the good that's out there that the players are doing, and that is something, obviously, that was great that the Raiders did working with those cancer survivors there.
And that's why we love you, Will Selva. We brought our Crucial Catch pins, of course, alongside with us to London as we continue to keep that in mind as, you know, we bring awareness about protecting and intercepting cancer as an NFL-wide family. Great stuff from Will there. Coming up after this, ahead of tonight's game against the Dolphins, our guide. Time for an NFL London game update presented by On Location Experiences. Let's welcome in the lead commentator for the Premier League on NBC Sports, coming to us live from the Admiralty, where Eagles fans are flocking to start the weekend, start Week 8. Arlo White, take it away.
Okay, guys, good morning. I feel like I'm one cheesesteak away from being an official Philadelphian here. They have taken over this place. This is like the Philadelphia Embassy, right in Trafalgar Square. We're at the Admiralty, and I've just brought a few of my friends along. Firstly, Poya, you came straight up to me. You're the only person in this place that recognises me because you're a Tottenham Hotspur soccer fan as well as working for the Eagles. How did you get into the soccer side in the Premier League?
I would say 2006 World Cup, not a great showing for the U.S. Fell in love with the sport, decided I wanted to adopt the team in the Premier League. Did a little research, decided the team in London made the most sense. Picked the Hotspurs, and ever since then, Tottenham's been my team and been following them throughout the course of, the better half of the last 10 years, 12 years.
They're flying like the Eagles as well. You're going to miss their game on Monday because you're going to be in Amsterdam, aren't you? They're playing at Wembley 24 hours after you. Listen, this is a business trip. All seriousness, people having a good time here. The Super Bowl defending champions are 3-4. I'm from Leicester. They won the Premier League 5,000 to 1 shots a few years ago. Laid a bit of an egg the next season. What needs to happen to turn this thing around?
I mean, we are 3-4, but I think we're 3 or 4 plays away from being, undefeated this season. It's a play here, a play there. I think if we just kind of fine-tune what we're doing, get everyone on the same page, we'll be fine. Not worried at all. It's been a little bit of a slow start, coming off the big Super Bowl win. But like I said, 3 or 4 plays away, and we'll be right there. So not worried.
Absolutely. This is Poya, and it is pandemonium, and I think it's going to be even more pandemonium at Wembley. Steve is celebrating his 50th birthday. The celebrations start here. Go, Steve. You don't look a day over 48, my friend, with that beard.
Thank you very much.
Describe the scene and the chaos at passport control this morning. You've only had 1 hour's sleep, haven't you?
I landed at 8:30 this morning. It took 2 hours to get through serpentine, lines. Can't get into the hotel. Came straight here. Had the first pint.
Now, you're on bill tours. Your pal has arranged the whole thing.
Yep.
So what sort of nightmare is it to get back to your hotel?
It's 92 steps right across the street.
There it is, the hotel. So if you need a trip to London, anyone in Philadelphia, Bill Tours is the person to speak to. What's going to happen with the game?
Oh, Eagles all the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jacksonville, no chance.
Okay.
No chance.
What's your name, sir?
Chris.
So let's get a close-up here of Chris's phone. This is his license plate back in Philly. Philly special. How about that? Wouldn't we like to see one of those at Wembley Stadium? Victoria here with the Philadelphia Eagles cheerleaders. I'm very well. What are your first impressions of London, our town here?
Oh my gosh, I love it here. Yesterday we went to the Kensington Palace, but we also had the opportunity to go over to the Museum of London, where we saw our very own Eagles player Jay Ajayi's exhibit.
Yeah, and he's a London boy,
Yeah,
and he's one of your Super Bowl heroes, of course. Speaking of the Super Bowl, what was it like being on the sideline? You had a bird's eye view, didn't you, of the Philly special?
Yes, I did. It was completely indescribable. I was right there in the end zone, and I saw Foles catch the Philly special pass. Everyone goes crazy. That was definitely one of the most memorable moments that I had at the Super Bowl.
And this, of course, that particular moment helped to earn the Philadelphia Eagles one of these. Bling, bling, Super Bowl, baby. There it is, the ring in full effect. Let's say, if you mind if I just squeeze past you there, Victoria. Andy from the Philadelphia Eagles drumline, official spokesman. Andy, I mean, this place is crazy. I can't imagine what it's going to be like by Saturday afternoon here.
We're very excited. I mean, if it's this packed already, and we came over on a flight full of Eagles fans. I mean, the fans just travel so hard, and they love this team, and it's so much fun to play for them. I mean, we're really excited.
Whereabouts are you going to be at Wembley Stadium on Sunday?
We're going to be doing a tailgate. There's going to be an Eagles tailgate, and we're going to be out there pumping up the fans. We're going to have the cheerleaders. We're going to have Swoop. It's going to be awesome.
Swoop's here, of course. Hello, Swoop. Oof. Scared me a little bit there. Just perched on my shoulder. Well, I tell you what, Andy and Kay and the guys, just from me, I go back to the day job at the weekend, calling games for NBC from the English Premier League. 3 games in 3 days for me. So thank you for having me this week. Enjoy the game on Sunday. Andy and the drumline are going to play us out. See you later.
Amazing job by Arlo there. Arlo, you're not quite finished yet. We're going to show everyone out there how Arlo and I got ready for the Arsenal match earlier this week. So stick around for that. Eagles fans here in full force. Swoop. Swoop?
Swoop, yeah.
So swoop.
Swoop. Hope he doesn't run into Jackson DeVille. That's the Jaguars mascot.
Not in these streets. That would not be good. We don't want any of that. Wow. It is never too early for football.
Routes as a big guy like Calvin did. But he's saying, I watched that after the game because you get done, you might win, you might have a great game. He's saying,
chasing history.
You know what? Let me wipe my mouth because I just ate. But I'm still hungry because he is chasing history. And you know what? For what it's worth, DeAndre, I hope you break it, man. Go ahead and get that record. Records are meant to be broken.
Do you think now that we're 2 years removed, Calvin Johnson's career is maybe a little underappreciated? I see those highlights. I'm in awe. Like, we don't talk about him the same way we do with Rice and Moss.
Yeah, I wish that he would have played more. But he was done. He walked away from the game because he couldn't give anymore. The body was starting to fall apart. But Calvin Johnson would have played 2 or 3 more years, he would be mentioned as one of the greatest of all time. So for that reason, you have to respect him as one of the best to do it.
DeAndre Hopkins certainly does as he prepares for this matchup at home in Houston against the Dolphins. Both squads 4-3, trying to make the word to use for it. What is his status for tonight's game and beyond?
Well, he's been fighting to get on the field. He had a quad injury, had another nagging injury earlier in the season, and just had not been able to get healthy. He's been fighting to actually be able to play on the football field for the Dolphins, which, by the way, Kay, has not been simple because it has been clear from the people I've spoken with that even though he believes he's healthy, he just has not quite been the same receiver. But everyone is injured right now for the Miami Dolphins. Kenny Stills is out. There certainly are other receivers for the Miami Dolphins. Albert Wilson, another one who is also just placed on injured reserve, not going to play. So he has no choice but to play. All of this comes in the wake of his agent absolutely crushing head coach Adam Gase, saying basically instead of Gase deactivating Parker, Gase should have deactivated himself. This is from on-the-record quotes to me, to Tom Pelissero, from Parker's agent. Clearly he is up for a possible trade. This may be a tryout tonight. But all of that being said, he's going to actually play and have his opportunity to prove that he should have been on the field all along.
All right, Ian, the Packers are coming off a bye week, which they hope would give Aaron Rodgers a chance to kind of get healthy. You know, what's the status on that knee?
It sounds, Nate, like he really did actually get healthy. The best thing for the Packers, the best news as they go into a huge game on Sunday night is that Aaron Rodgers did, in fact, take part fully in practice yesterday. He has been battling this knee injury that, of course, we saw him leave the field, carted off against the Bears, come back in heroic fashion, have as big a regular season win as they've had. But this knee injury really has nagged him. He's worn a small brace. He injured it again. He wore a bigger brace. It's unclear right now what kind of artillery he's going to go out with during the game this Sunday. But the fact that he was able to participate fully means the bye did its job, and Rodgers is at the least as healthy as he has been all season.
All right, we got to talk New York. We got to talk trade deadline. 5 days away from that trade deadline, and the Giants, of course, making those 2 huge moves already. Anything else shaking around the league on that horizon?
Well, first of all, okay, the Giants may not actually be done. You look at the roster, try to figure out which high-priced former big-time free agent acquisitions could be had in a trade. And to me, Janoris Jenkins is the one that makes the most sense. Still do a big salary. He's still got some game, although he hasn't quite been on it this year as much as he has in the past. He's someone that could certainly be had. For the Denver Broncos, I know teams have been calling about Demaryius Thomas, the receiver. They considered shopping actually last offseason. Do a big salary, could potentially be facing his final year in Denver. That is someone who could be had as well. What about Jamie Collins, the Browns linebacker? I know teams are certainly interested in there. The Browns are not shopping, but they have been listening. He does have a high salary, and maybe for the right deal, that is someone who could be traded as well. And then for the Oakland Raiders, we know they obviously traded Amari Cooper to the Dallas Cowboys early in the week. Keep an eye on Carl Joseph, their former first-round safety. Not sure they'd be able to get enough to actually warrant trading him, but I know that they are, in fact, listening to potential offers from teams.
Sounds like you'll be pretty busy as that deadline approaches next week. Appreciate you, Ian Rappaport. We'll talk to you throughout the day and leading into Thursday night action on NFL Network tonight. Let's talk Kerryon Johnson. We love him. He's
kind of recent, you know, in the history of Rivers. It's a little too new.
Well, Peter's always been there, you know.
I don't think that's true. We'll bring in Will Sullivan now. He's out in the newsroom in Los Angeles this morning. Will, take it away.
All right, thank you. Ancient Samaria. I never thought we'd be talking about that this morning, but bringing up Ancient Samaria works for me. The last time the Saints and Vikings played, Stephon Diggs broke the hearts of Saints fans with the Minneapolis Miracle. This time around, New Orleans has won 5 straight, and Minnesota is running their own 3-game win streak. Drew Brees is now the all-time leader in passing yards, and just last week joined the 500 club with his touchdown to Ben Watson against the Ravens. He says they've put last year behind them. Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer knows how good Brees is and says he gets better as the game goes on.
Number one, he's a great competitor. Number two, I think as the game goes on, he gets a much better feel of what the defense is trying to do throughout the course of the ball game with him. And you know, a guy like him who's seen everything, he sees everything anyway, but I mean, you know, he's seen so many different looks that he can kind of decipher things quickly on the move. And I think that's part of it. And then, you know, he's got good players too. I mean, Michael Thomas is good, Kamara's good, Ingram's good. You know, they got a lot of good players.
Cooper Kupp, he's a good player. Rams head coach Sean McVay says the wide receiver is making good progress from his knee injury, but is doubtful to play against the Packers on Sunday. Kupp missing last week's game with an MCL sprain suffered in Week 6 on a horse collar tackle by Broncos safety Darian Stewart. And it's been quite a week so far for our crew out there in London. Check out this cool image posted on Twitter by @PixelNFL. Peter, Kay, Nate, and Kyle dressed as Queen's Guard standing at their posts. That's pretty cool. What do you guys think about that? Huh?
It's a nice bit of fiction because Kyle would last about 3 seconds as part of a Queen's Guard.
It just looks like I have a flat top, though. I don't know.
Nate's not wearing a hat. Is that his hair?
Let me see it
up again.
Wait, what?
Now, one other thing.
Go on.
Now, one other thing that I noticed is, of course, all of you have your own unique style. And Nate, we know he's a big fashionista. But there was something that I noticed, and I had to bring it to your attention, Kay, here, because this is a little peculiar to me. It feels as though you raided Nate's closet. What's going on here?
Wait a second.
Oh.
Look at this deep
Did you
dive
raid his
right
closet?
here. Oh my gosh.
Wow, Nate.
Okay.
Let's talk about this.
When you were in college?
Listen, here's what happened. I was eating Scotch eggs, of course, and I got them all over my normal outfit, so I just hopped into your wardrobe and I mean, it's all family, right?
Oh, yeah, why not? Exactly.
All right, I'll let you slide. Let me see.
This is yours. It's not yours.
Yeah, it smells like natural juices and berries.
It happens.
Thanks so much, Will Selva. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Tweet the show, everybody, at #GMFB.
Peter's wearing my Fruit of the Loom today, guys. There's some Eagles fans down at the pub having a draft or two. We also had a draft before the season started, a very different type of draft, where we all picked 3 running backs, again, before the season started, that we thought would be in the hunt to win the rushing title at the end of the season. In the hunt, tip of the cap to Kareem Hunt, who wore it last year. So each week we're checking out the progress of our thoroughbreds, the guys that we put in the carnival game. Peter went first with Kareem Hunt, then we zagged Gurley, Howard, Fournette, all the way down to Kay taking Royce Freeman, me, Kerryon Johnson as our Mr. Irrelevant. So that was the draft back in September. Let's take a look, guys. Let's go to the carnival and see how they're running. In the hood, lift the curtain, and away they go. Peter's team, Nate's, then Kay's, then mine on the bottom. And out of the gates, we have a Charger and a Ram out of Los Angeles with a Cowboy in Texas down on the bottom. It's Todd Gurley in the final furlong, and it is Todd Gurley out in front. Guys, what do you think of your teams right now?
Woof, 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 woof.
My team is so good that one of my dudes hasn't even left the blocks yet. And I'm still rocking y'all.
Nate drafted Le'Veon Bell, who's standing there at the starting gates.
This is the real top 5. I gotta say, we did pretty good. All top 5 leading rushers in the NFL are on at least one of our teams. My guy is sitting right there in the 3 spot with Kareem Hunt. I also got the 4 spot. I love where I'm sitting. I don't think David Johnson's done yet. He's going to be a dark horse coming from the back end.
None of my dudes are in that top 5.
Who'd you get again, Kay?
Who's your number
Jordan
pick?
Howard.
Okay.
Okay. Is he first round?
Tariq Cohen is crushing it.
Yeah, he's doing really,
and they're
really
passing
well.
a ton. Dalvin Cook can't stay healthy, and Royce Freeman, he's up there. He's got 2 fewer yards than Jordan Howard.
Kyle, you got Zeke. I took Zeke, which is great, but the guy I'm really proud of is Kerryon Johnson on the Lions is coming running right now down the stretch. If he steals this thing, no one would have thought Kareem Hunt would do it last year. It's a good point. Kerryon, go get it, my man.
Love Kerryon Johnson and love London. Good Morning Football is here. Hours away from kickoff to Thursday night action. It's the Dolphins and the Texans. And last, how great is Arlo White?
He's amazing.
He's the best.
Describe it to us.
It was amazing, and it's just what everybody does. You go get a pie, and then I feel like you coat your stomach.
Yes.
And then we, of course, went into the game. So I saw you guys. I was buzzed and having a great time, and I was full, and it was amazing.
You had a good poker face, Kay. I didn't know you were 5 pints in.
Yeah,
You're on the res.
Here's the thing. They let me pour my own beer. I was like, can I just go pour my own? I was a bartender. They're like, okay, great. Sure. Did that, served a couple of people, met, it's just their watering hole. It's their after work standard routine. We waste time in America setting up shop and boiling, grilling ribs and all the stuff we have to clean up. Go get a pie, get a pint, and go to the game. I loved it.
Utu, I love that.
Utu, Guna. Oh, my agent is so mad at me right now. He's a Tottenham guy. Hurricane, sorry.
We have more reasonable rally cries like who dat.
Yeah, that's true. This is
Simple.
Good Morning Football. We've got fans taking over London. NFL fans, Eagles, Jags fans, everybody.